Hello and welcome to another episode of the Middleman podcast, and I'm here today with Hannah Reilly. She's an empowerment coach and a sound healer. Welcome, Hannah. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm good, thanks, Roy. Good to be here.
That's good, and it's interesting because we've just actually done a healing session, so there's some interesting insights around that. So let's start there. How did you find that?
Yeah, it was really interesting. A lot of the things that came up made sense, and I just had this, if it was a physical feeling, it was just all in my head, a lot of energy happening there, and yeah, it was all about creativity for me.
Yeah, excellent. And in what ways creativity?
In accepting an aspect of myself and diving more into fun, into creativity, that aspect of me.
Yeah, nice. And not what you was expecting, I guess.
No, and I was a little bit out of alignment, so just putting myself in alignment.
Yeah, so for those that are listening, Hannah was sat on a round mat, and I was working with my crystal orbs, and I'd put them in all the directional points, so north, east, south, and west, and also because I've got 8, so there's north, east, northwest, southeast, southwest. And it's interesting, as she was sat down, so I saw the alignment as north south. So she was started off being northeast facing, and gradually through the session she kept going out of alignment, but less and less and less until we aligned you at the end.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yes, and what I also found really fascinating was I had a bangle on each arm, on each wrist, and one of the bangles was told to be taken off, and also a anklet as well.
Oh yeah, you can put the anklet back on.
Oh, it's gone in a bin.
Oh, is it? Okay, well, it's gone in a bin, right? Well, it's obviously meant to be, see?
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting. So the bracelet was fully enclosed.
Yes.
And it was where was the bracelet from?
So that bracelet, it was a gold bracelet that I got from a previous ex that I was still wearing. And so it was really interesting because Roy was like, you need to take that off. And unknown to him, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense why I can't wear that anymore.
Yeah, so I just got a physical feeling in my body, physical sensation that there was a block within Hannah around that bracelet that was creating a block in a masculine energy flow.
Yeah.
And he was wearing it on the right hand side, and it was a gift from. And inadvertently, what it meant was, in regards to the shadow work side of things, it just meant that there's still an attachment there, which is why it had to go.
Yeah, which was amazing.
Yeah. So shadow work, we have a lot of misconceptions around what shadow work is. Our session today, would you consider that to be your thoughts around shadow work?
Yeah, so we briefly spoke about it, and I said my belief with shadow work it's that internal work, and it's seeing those aspects that we necessarily deem as could be inappropriate. So like I said to you, the manipulation, spitefulness, maliciousness, and then we spoke about boundaries as well. So it's looking at all of those and understanding that, yes, they are of the shadow. However, you can still use them in the light.
Yeah. So you wouldn't expect creativity to be part of your shadow?
No, and creativity, no.
And that's most of essentially what we spoke about.
Yeah.
Was realigning your feminine creativity, therefore your divine feminine power, so you can honour your boundaries better, honour your relationship better.
Yeah.
And honour your life better.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite profound, actually.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
That's why I love doing this work, because it brings up so many obscure ways of how shadow looks to people's perceptions of shadow. It's not always going into the dark, although you're working with what that person believes to be their darkness.
Yeah.
Because you were ignoring your fun time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. As of late, I would probably say, since I've been back from the UK, actually, there's not really been much fun, and it's been more work.
Yeah.
Which was like a huge thing. So that really resonated with me.
So that's why it created that misalignment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. So how did you end up in the UK?
So,
obviously that's been my home territory.
Yeah. So my partner is English, and through the pandemic is when we met here on the Gold Coast, and not long after it kind of was happening, and it was quite in the thick of it in the UK, my partner's, his decision was when we first met that he was going to go to the UK and then go to Canada. And after speaking with his mum, being over there in the thick of it, he was really torn, and I was just like, I'm not someone to hold anyone back from where they need to be. So he went to the UK, and then he was unable to come back into Australia. So he was in the UK for about 6 weeks and just said, this is just like horrific. Like, I want to go to Canada. And I said, go to Canada because...
Yeah, because Canada turned out to be better.
Yeah, and I was like, you can't come back to Australia, so if you're not happy in the UK, go to Canada. Utilise that visa. And so we were apart for 7 months, and then it kind of came to that decision of, well, what do we do here? Do we say goodbye to one another and walk away, or do we actually want to make something of this? So then the decision came, and the only way for that to be would be for me to go to the UK. So I put my house up for rent, sold most of my belongings, and then made my way over there in the thick of the pandemic.
That's a big move. That's courageous. Definitely courageous.
Yeah, it was and definitely an experience.
So what did you think of the UK?
Well, I've been to the UK previously a few times. My cousin lives over there as well, and it was very different this time because everything was in lockdown. So when we first got there, we moved to Wales, and we were there for 6 weeks. And me living here on the Gold Coast, going to Wales
and Wales is isolated at the best of times.
Was a rude awakening.
I'm English, so I'm just bagging out the Welsh.
Yeah, it was a rude awakening, it really was. And where my partner's from, he's from Dorset, from Bournemouth. So we went there for a weekend, and it was near the water, and I live near the water, being on the Gold Coast. So I was like, why are we not living here?
Every Aussie lives near the water, to be fair.
Yeah.
Bar Alice Springs.
So, yeah. So then we went to Bournemouth. Our biggest challenge was getting his... permit. Oh, so I don't even know what it's called now. It's so long ago, but for him to be able to travel back to Australia with me.
Oh, what, a permanent residency visa?
Oh, it was that. It was also like for me to leave Australia in that time, I had to apply for an exemption to leave the country, and so we had to do the same for him. And that, having been locked down over there, deemed to be a lot more challenging for us than it was for me in Australia. So we were fortunate. After the first attempt, we had our lawyers, we didn't get it, and then the second attempt we got it, which was amazing. And then the next hurdle was trying to get a flight back home to Australia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, you certainly relationship born out of fire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we plunged like right in.
Yeah. Should be easy now then. Yeah, when a relationship's easy. But but they're there to help us grow.
Yeah, definitely. There was so much growth, and I learned so much about myself in that experience as well. Having lived here, having my own place, just recently I'd finished my NLP then, and really on top of everything, and then going to start from scratch again in a country and where there were so many factors that deemed to be more challenging than having everything in lockdown, and I was unable to get work while I was over there because they weren't doing national insurances and, the national insurance number thing.
Yeah.
They
So
went that through.
how did you find that not being able to work? What did you occupy yourself with?
I went walking a lot, even though we were only meant to be out for an hour. It was challenging.
In the mud?
Yeah, like, it was extremely challenging. I like to think of myself as a strong-minded person, and that was definitely testing that.
So what was it? So jumping back to how shadow work can work and how life teaches us how to grow, looking back with hindsight, what do you feel it was really teaching you?
One, I was never meant to be there. There was lots of things, like we purchased a car, and the insurance over there is very different to how it is over here in Australia. And when you open a policy, you put down a certain amount of money. And so when we
must have changed then, because I don't feel it's any different from when I had policies. But I haven't been in England in 14 years, so I can't really remember anymore.
It's totally different. To me, it's very backwards.
Sounds like Wales. Yeah, okay, I'm backing up the Welsh again.
Yeah.
There'll be a few comments.
Yeah, so it was
There
just...
were no listeners in Wales anymore.
It was just very backwards. Like, in regards to... So, we had said that my occupation, being a coach, and being over there at that time, I then realised, okay, I actually may have to get some other type of work. And when we let the insurance company know, they then said that they weren't going to insure me on it. Yeah. And over in the UK, what's very different is you have to have your car insured, because if you don't, I think it's like against the law or...
Yeah, well, it's not like, because Australia has that CTP insurance that comes with Rego, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, so when you register your car, you automatically get insurance. So, but no, England doesn't have that.
No.
Yeah, so if you get pulled over, they do what's called a producer or... Oh. Yeah, I think it's a producer. Basically, you have to go to the police station to show them your licence and your insurance.
Yeah, and so then I was kicked off the insurance. So there was two ultimatums. Either I get kicked off, or we then open another policy, and that meant, and then we had to pay off that policy, and that just wasn't feasible at the time. So the decision was for me to not be on it. So that was like one challenge.
So you couldn't really walk anywhere, you couldn't really drive anywhere.
No, I had to bus.
Bus is wonderful. But interesting enough, the universe was throwing you a hell of a lot of challenges at that time.
There was so many more as well, which, I was like, okay, this is another one. I actually, I severed my finger when we were over there as well, and I had to went to the hospital.
How did you sever your finger?
Well, I was Jay and I, my partner, we were making lunch, and he just sharpened his knife, and it was a big knife, and it's not the appropriate knife for an avocado. And I was cutting an avocado, went straight down into my finger. And, straight away I was like, quickly, I need a tea towel, and I was like, I'm passing out.
I've actually got a little scar on my, from trying to get a stone out of an avocado. It's like putting a knife in it and the stone span.
Yeah.
And then the knife slipped and just went into my hand about an inch.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, you can kind of see it. I've got no feeling. It's just very numb there now.
And interesting enough, I was getting drawn to that finger during the session, because that's how, when I said on the...
You were asking me to go like this.
Go like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And because that's what led me to pleasure. So this is how obscure my... ability can work. So my intuition is saying get Hannah to hold a hand out, because I needed to see her fingers, because I needed to see which finger the ring was on, and it's on that finger.
Yeah.
And that's why it led into pleasure and creativity.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. The fact that and interestingly enough, we're talking about that your creativity is out of balance, and you've severed that finger.
Yeah.
Which is like no coincidences, folks.
Yeah.
No such thing.
Yeah.
And so during that time, because that would have been a perfect time with all that time on your hands, was you doing anything creative?
No.
Yeah. So you're just wasting time.
Yeah, I wasn't doing anything creative. I started studying while I was over there.
That's a business, not creative.
There was nothing creative that I was doing. Yeah.
See, more shadow work going on.
Yeah.
So it's like there was shadow work on episode 1. Looks like we're going back, doing a bit more, just at the light level. So, how long was it before you got back to Australia?
It was 7 months. I just got to that point where I was like, I had my mortgage and everything still over here, and I just went, I'm just going to go home. There was just a pivoting point for me where I was like, yeah, the universe is giving me all these signals and all these things that are happening for me at the moment to challenge me, and I'm like, and I'm done. Like, I'm ready to go back home to Australia.
And I like how you said that it was happening for you, not to you.
Yeah, 100%.
Because any challenge in life, it's there to happen for us. So, if you're blaming external things, you're not learning the lesson that life's trying to teach you.
Yeah.
For those that are listening, or for those that are watching, that are still blaming an old job or an old partner or whatever it is that you're blaming, you get to choose to be one or two people in any situation. You get to choose either be the student or the victim. The victim you don't learn, and you stay there until you choose to be the student. And with the student, you move beyond that life lesson pretty quick. Still doesn't make it any less challenging sometimes, but at least you're there going, okay, what is life teaching me right now?
Yeah. But what now looking back, it's always, when you're in the thick of something, it's a little bit more challenging to see the bigger picture or the lesson, shall I say. And now being back, love being back home on the Gold Coast. One thing that I can say is there was always an intention for me to live in the UK. There's always an intention to go there and live there, and so that happened.
Achieved.
And I met some amazing people while I was there. Yes, given that most things were closed and everything was in lockdown and not much was open.
Yeah, we're not too bad, the Brits. They're all right.
No, I really got to understand the way that of the British, like the way that they live, understanding like more about
that we're miserable bastards half the time.
Well, like they get paid monthly, and just the differences in what it is to
Australia.
Australia.
Varies from job to job.
Yeah. So that was really good, and then the other thing was I've always been appreciative of my home in Australia. That really highlighted how much I am so grateful for my family.
Yeah.
And the support that I have from my family as well.
So some big lessons there.
There was some big lessons, and I'll go back to the UK. Like, I still love the UK. It didn't leave a sour
it's
taste
a good place
in
to
my
visit.
mouth. Yeah, it's a good
If
place
you like
to visit.
history, you like castles.
Yes.
England's great. So where I lived in I was born in a little country town called Sleaford, and you could go, it had the ruins of an old castle in it, and you could go 20 miles in pretty much any direction, you'd hit a castle.
Yeah.
Or a country home.
Yeah.
Or a battlefield.
It's amazing. Yeah. I love Europe. I love England. My nana was from Somerset.
Oh, okay, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, they talk a bit like that. They do in Somerset. They're a bit countrified.
Yes.
Come boy, harvester, carrots.
Yes.
Like that, yeah. It's about one of the few English accents I can sort of do, partly mockingly. So, moving away from that, how did you get into doing sound healing?
So,
how long have you been doing that?
Yeah, so that was something that in my mind, so prior to actually physically getting into it, it was something that I wanted to get into. There's a grand plan and a grand vision for what is to come. It started off at the start of this year, actually.
It's quite fresh.
Yeah, so I got back from the UK last April, and this year was like the year that I made that decision that I was going to be seen in my business and to just go all in. And it was a friend and I that we
Give the universe the middle finger, so to speak.
Pretty much, yeah. Thanks for the last year. Let me show you.
And sometimes that's what happens. Like, we put through these tough challenges to make us go, fuck this. I'm not to put us in a place where we're just not accepting our own bullshit anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Playing small.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a friend and I got together, and originally she was on the bowls and I was doing the meditation, and we were creating an event. And then I always had a love for it, always wanted to get into it, then realised, so I got into it, and then I started doing the events, and amicably we both decided that it was in the best interest for both of us to do it separate.
Yeah.
And that was great. And, so from there, that's when I've gotten into it, and I've been doing monthly events here on the Gold Coast, and just recently back in Brisbane as well.
And there's an awesome event coming up, isn't there?
There is. Our event.
Our event, yeah. So we met at an NLP course and hit it off pretty straight away. Just got chatting, and then afterwards we decided to collaborate to do a sound healing meditation hypnosis event.
Yeah.
The Roar of the Ancestors, which for those that are interested, it's on Eventbrite if you're living in the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Australia.
It's coming up on the
26th of November.
Yeah, 26th of November, a Saturday evening.
And for those wondering what that rumbling is in the background, we're near a tram line.
Yeah.
So that'll happen every now and again.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's how I got into it, and then did an online course for it, and I just love it. I love the vibration and the resonance that comes from those amazing instruments.
And you use singing bowls?
Yeah, I use
Anything
crystal
else?
singing bowls. I also I have a medicine drum as well, and I also have a rain stick.
Ooh. Yeah, you definitely have to use that at the ceremony.
Yeah. I
Definitely.
actually used that at my last one on the Gold Coast, where I brought in their ancestors.
So you're responsible for all the rain right now?
And I used my rain stick, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, don't laugh, people. It is a thing.
Yeah, it's
The
amazing.
Native American Indians were doing that, long time ago.
Yeah.
That power of belief to create weather.
And it's really interesting that I have been drawn to all of it as well. When I birthed my medicine drum, I went through a journey of seeing myself in a past life. And what I found really out of this world was that, so previously to doing it, when I was, I think maybe 29, I got my 2 tattoos on my arm. One being a wolf and one being a Native American woman.
Which, for those that are watching, you can see that in the...
Yeah, so I've got my wolf and then my Native American woman.
Yeah, beautiful.
And when I birthed the drum, I actually went into seeing myself in a past life, and I was a Native American woman.
Cool.
Yeah, and my wolf was there, and so that experience for me was phenomenal. And I came out of it, and I actually took me a while to process what I'd actually seen and what I'd actually witnessed, and then realizing, oh, okay, there was something much bigger than me just liking the look of the wolf and getting it tattooed on me. There is a symbolic meaning.
Yeah.
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 It's
So
part of
for
me.
those that are watching and listening, if you've got a tattoo that was that you got done because you're really strongly drawn to that, there's going to be a reason behind that if you haven't already found it out. So it's something for you to go away and figure out why, and look at what the picture is, if it's an animal or whatever it is, a symbol. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a reason for that.
Yeah. So that was amazing, and then birthing the drum, and then deciding, rain stick, and as you said, we're in the Native American.
Is there any other instruments coming in the future for you?
There's one, I don't know what it's called though. It's like a big xylophone.
Oh,
Or it's
yeah.
like...
Yeah, isn't that called a xylophone? Just putting it out there. There might be another name, but yeah. Because what I'm looking at the moment is tuning forks.
Actually, we have a tuning fork here.
Yeah, so like the range of them.
Yeah.
So I can I can align people.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do it with crystal orbs, but, doing it with a doing as well.
We have a tuning fork here.
That's currently what I'm getting drawn to. They'll come in at the right moment, and they'll turn up when they're meant to. Mm. It's always about trusting divine timing.
Yeah.
Because our timing doesn't exist.
Yes.
Yeah, there's two timings. Our timing, divine timing. Our timing is an illusion, and we get frustrated and impatient when we're not in alignment with divine timing.
Yeah, no such thing as time. Only spirit knows time.
That's it. All things come at the exact moment it's meant to.
Yeah.
And when it's not, it's teaching you something.
Yeah.
So, which part of your crazy head made you really want to move during the middle of COVID?
Yeah, I know. Well,
Because, how did you meet your partner, Jamie?
We met here on the Gold Coast. I actually met on Tinder.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, it was...
Is that the swipe one?
Yeah, it's a swipe one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we met on that, and then what really drawn one another, I guess, to both of us to one another was crystals. And...
Yeah, because he's like a crystal freak, isn't he?
Yeah, and personal development. Love for personal development.
So how did you get into the personal development? Because you said you're an empowerment coach. How did you get into that?
So previous to that, I worked in the hair and beauty industry as a beauty therapist for 10 years. And it's interesting because it's always things that lead us to the next destination, right?
Yeah.
So what led me into beauty was my own journey in coming into learning to fully love myself. And I suffered with cystic acne for 15 years, so I wanted to understand what was going on with my body and really educate myself on that, and therefore I could educate other people.
Yeah, so what's this? The acne thing that you said was the first word I can't pronounce.
Cystic
acne. Yeah, what's cystic acne? What's that? How does that how does the body manifest that?
So this would be, there's seborrheic acne, which is oil, and then there's toxic acne, and some therapists may debate that, and that's totally fine. What was happening for me was there was a few things. So for a very long time, I had really bad habits. I smoked cigarettes for 15 years. Like, I did drugs, I drank alcohol. Certain foods for me would really basically flare up, and your skin's your largest organ. So my body was screaming at me unknowingly, and it was like, something's not right, and yet I was not listening to it. And so my skin, being the largest organ, it's got to expel that stuff somehow, and cheese or dairy creates mucus in the body. And that's how it was coming out. It was coming out of my skin. And through my study, I actually sat down and went, you know this, work out what organs aren't working properly. So I did that, and intuitively, I'm like, hormone imbalance, leaky gut syndrome. Went to the doctors, got my bloods done, confirmed, yes, I had a hormone imbalance. And then as soon as I said leaky gut, they just said, what is that? And I was like, no worries, give me the results and I'll go holistic way. So I went to a naturopath.
So let's go into that, the leaky gut syndrome, and talk about that.
Yeah. So leaky gut syndrome is, so what I was finding, my symptoms as per se, were I was eating lots of veggies. I used to eat lots of raw veggies all the time, and I was eating all these good nutrient-dense foods, and I was really lethargic, like I had no energy. And what happens is, when you have leaky gut syndrome, you have holes in your intestinal wall. So rather than the food going the way that it's meant to, it's then going out into your bloodstream and places where it's not meant to be. So I worked with a naturopath for 2 years in treating and rebuilding my intestinal wall, and that was on acidophilus and bifidus for 2 years. And then I was also on toxemia spray to
So
help.
what are those two things that you mentioned? What are those?
So they're pre and probiotics.
Oh, okay.
To strengthen the wall. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, and then that also led me into a different fully changing the way that I ate and the way that I saw food, and it led me to become vegan.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I went into like the vegan.
So is that something that you teach others?
No, I don't.
Why?
Because like, if someone presented those symptoms, then yes, I would definitely delve into that for that person. I would definitely delve into, okay, a holistic overall. Like whenever I used to do my consultations with clients.
Because when people's health are in balance and you can help them with that, that's empowerment.
Yeah, 100%.
Empowerment isn't just always a mindset.
No.
It's sometimes a physical thing.
Yeah, so if I had someone that came to me and presented a situation or problems of that,
so maybe
then I would direct them and have a conversation with them about a whole holistic view.
Yeah, because during our session we spoke about, you're looking to garner more clients. Maybe you're not.
I'm fixated on a certain
one thing.
Yeah.
Whereas like
I've got all this other knowledge.
I can help people on. I can do like psychic readings with tarot and oracle. I can do past life regression, future life regression. As far as I'm aware, currently I'm one of the few people that says I do interdimensional life regression, which is because we leave our soul fragments all over the place. And I also do the psychic mediumship, so talking to people who have passed and guides, and then I do the empowerment stuff and the mindset, medical intuitive mentoring on spiritual gifts, as well as overcoming limiting beliefs and anything else that turns up in the realignment with crystal healing, sound healing.
Yeah.
I basically don't limit myself.
Yeah. Yes.
A couple more months at this, I'll be able to teach podcasting.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's all about like recognising what our gifts are, recognising what our skills are, and if you want to be a mentor and a coach, well then if you've got, you could mentor and coach people on how to emigrate.
Yeah.
It's amazing what skills we have that we don't realise are skills.
Yeah.
And you think about all that personal journey that you did around health and leaky gut and stuff like that, that's invaluable to others that don't even know where to start.
Well, it's just one of those things, unless you've got that knowledge, that wouldn't even come into your mind's eye.
Yeah, and that's it, someone that's one step ahead of us on the journey can teach us about that step.
Yeah.
It's why there's so many coaches cropping up now, because so many people are wanting guidance.
Yeah.
Problem is there's a lot of bad coaches out there that don't know how to coach.
Yeah, like what I found, when we're diving back into what got me into coaching, and then, which was the beauty, so working in the beauty industry. And I remember I had a consultation with the client, and there was a fresh beauty therapist when I was working at a laser clinic, and she came in for the consultation with me, and she just absolutely got blown away because of the type of questions that I was asking the client. Because this is the thing that people don't realise or fail to realise is that products are fantastic. It's on the inside that is going to make the change.
Yeah, because if you want to get good at anything that you do, look at related subjects and learn about them. And, learn the outer ring. So you got your inner ring of what you know, and then there's an outer ring, and learn the knowledge there, and that'll really expand your capabilities. Because I work on the mind and the body as well as the spirit.
Yeah.
It's not all about woo-woo for me, because you've got to find out where someone's first step is. And their first step might be NLP, or it might be tweaking their diet, or, it's interesting where their first steps are. You think, because when we were talking prior to the session today, you're wanting to access your power and all that lot, and we're tweaking your creativity.
Yeah.
Which, for the unknown, probably to someone would look unrelated. But they're absolutely related.
Yeah. And that makes sense, because I am in the past, like, I haven't been creative for some time. I'm actually a really creative person. And I love bringing that side of me out and creating all, like...
Yeah. Because essentially that session, I just got creative in the moment.
Yeah.
I knew what I needed to bring.
Yeah.
And then I just trust the rest.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And there turns up, there's a round mat there. I'm like, perfect. Let's use that.
Yeah.
And I had no thought and no preemption of doing the points of the compass and aligning you. That's what it was. Went with the flow. Intuition went, yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
Don't bring your bowl because Hannah's got some.
Yeah.
And it would have been, and plus it was one less thing to carry because, like, with all my equipment for the podcasting and all my stuff for my session, there's a lot to carry.
Yeah.
So the universe does look after you in many different ways.
Yeah.
As long as you trust them and work with them.
It does, and like being in the beauty industry and being around women and men, more predominantly women, and really seeing. For me, I was like, I'm helping these people on a very superficial level.
So, body dysmorphia is sort of the thing that's being talked about a lot at the moment.
Yeah.
What do you find in regards to that in the beauty industry? Because you've recently gone back into it in a small way.
Yeah. It's huge, and it's really prevalent in the beauty industry as well. You've got... I've worked in different aspects in beauty. I've worked in clinic settings around injectables, and then I've worked in, other settings as well. And what I've found, especially with that, is fillers and Botox, and the younger generations are coming in now as well. And some of the treatments that I used to do were high-end treatments. So plasma fibroblast, which is essentially... It's a holistic way of treating wrinkles. So you're essentially putting burns either side of a wrinkle and evaporating, like stretching the skin.
Wow, that's full on.
Yeah, that's a fairly new, I'd say, in the last 4 years. That's been a new technology that's come out, and then
because people don't want to. This is what I find: people don't want to do the inner work.
Yeah,
you do your inner work, you clear out all your emotions that are holding you back. So, in other words, you're reaching a more equilibrium with joy and peace and happiness and laughter. Those are the things that clear the wrinkles.
You and who you are. And I agree, because this is what I was finding. Like, I had these amazing, amazing women and men coming in. And in that moment, we'd be fixing, something, making them feel better and on the exterior. However... that would only last for so long. Like, we'll talk about when you go to get your hair cut and, you go in, you come out and you feel amazing. You're like, oh, yeah, I feel fresh. So I was doing that in a different sense for these people. And yet that will only last so long. And in those sessions, I may have been with some clients for 2 hours. We used to do ultrasound technology and non-surgical face uplift. And... what I found was that there was always something that they needed fixing.
Yeah.
I don't like this about me, and I don't like that.
And when you don't do the inner work, there's always going to be something.
Exactly. It's that external validation.
It's that perfectionism.
Yeah. And so that was what led me into coaching. Unknowingly, for a very long time, I was coaching my clients.
Because you've done your own journey of enhancements as well, haven't you?
I have. So 10 years ago, I used to get fillers. I used to get my lips done. I used to get fillers in my chin, or either side of my chin, Botox. And 10 years ago, I went to Thailand for a friend's wedding, and I got my breast implants done.
So where was you at internally 10 years ago?
Oh, it's really interesting, because I actually, if I go back, I remember what I was like. I can't remember what I used to say to myself. So for the viewers... I didn't like my reflection in the mirror. I didn't have any love for myself. I thought that I was unlovable. I thought that I was not good enough. I had anxiety because from my skin, very low self-esteem, and it was almost like crippling.
Yeah.
And yeah, like for me to get my breast implants done, at that time, I felt that I was out of proportion. I wasn't in proportion of my body. I had hips, and I was like itty bitty little titty committee.
Bit extreme for a wedding as well, you know. Most
So
people tend to get new clothes for a wedding.
Yeah. So after the
Or a
wedding,
haircut.
yeah, I got my breast implants, and it's really interesting because now 10 years on, I things change, you know, and the way that you see yourself changes.
Yeah.
And knowing what I know now, would I have done that? No. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's interesting that we, you know, all about the low self-esteem and everything like that, that was the driving force to make yourself look better. What was you make yourself look better according to? Like, what was it a supposed societal view of how you should look, or, you know,
Yeah, I guess, yeah, like...
what look was you trying to achieve? Did you see it in magazines? Whereabouts?
Well, interesting. So my friend who got married at the time, she had gone to the surgeon and got hers done. And so I was like, oh, they're amazing.
That was one hell of a bridesmaid's party.
Yeah.
Most people just go out and drink, you know.
Yeah, and then I decided, okay, yeah, I'm going to go do that for myself. And this is like the biggest lesson is for me, I'm just talking on me, and anyone else can reject this. For me, it was like, if I do this, I'm going to feel amazing. And it was like, if I do this, everything's going to be great. And then you do it. And yes, like, yeah, you're happy. It wasn't the root cause, and this is where we talk about internal work and how important it is. So I was like needing something internally, and I was looking for it externally.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the answers are never external, they're always internal.
Yeah.
And sometimes all it needs is a little tweak, sometimes.
Yeah. And so going through, having worked in the industry, realising that, yes, I was helping, and then going, there's more that I can do. Like, these people presenting themselves coming to me because of how they're feeling, and perception is projection, right? So I can see that because in the past that was me.
Yeah.
So it made me want to dig deeper, and
So
I
that
went through
journey
my
gave
own,
you powerful insight.
Yeah, and I went through my own journey as well. I went through my own I went like rebirthing, deaths, you know, and completely like...
Yeah, spiritual deaths, not physical ones. I'm not sat on the sofa with a zombie.
Yeah. You know, I cut the cord with certain people.
I don't think so. I don't know, actually.
We're here. I'm here.
Just, yeah, no. Oh, no, our leg's cold, I think. He's a zombie. This is the zombie episode.
Yeah. So, yeah, I cut the cord with just... My journey to be where I am now has been fucking phenomenal. And there's been...
So if you could give advice to anybody that's in a low self-esteem about their looks, what would you say?
That there's not another person like you in this world, and that you are worthy and you are loved, and you came down here for a reason.
Yeah.
You came to Earthside for a reason. And if you are having, you know...
And a powerful reason at that.
Yeah, like if there's stuff going on where you're not liking the reflection in the mirror, the best advice that I could give is to start listen to yourself. Really, really listen to yourself and find out what are those things that you love doing. Because...
Yeah, for me, the universe leaves crumbs. So I could always talk a lot. And then not doing a podcast, and I'm working towards more public speaking and getting on stage and sharing my message, and I've always been into so many different things. And interesting enough, like I was an electrician for 20 years. That's what got me to Australia, was a skilled visa. And then someone pointed out one day when I started working, doing any energy healing work and stuff like that, they went, "So you did physical energy, now doing spiritual energy?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I never saw it that way." Sometimes like these little things that they hide right under our nose that's blatantly obvious. It just makes you chuckle when you get that, when that divine timing comes in and just reminds you of why you did that thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of things you do in life are also reminders of past lives as well, which is fascinating.
Yeah.
That's a whole different podcast episode. That is past life stuff.
And mine being beauty, what are you doing? You're helping someone externally.
Yeah.
What was I doing to myself for many, many years, doing stuff externally? And then what did I go into?
Yeah.
Internal.
That's it. And also, like, I love playing football. It's still a passion of mine. I was actually up at 2:30 this morning watching the final Premier League game before the World Cup starts. But the thing with the football, well, I was using all these orbs today. So, physical balls, spiritual orbs. It's all that. Doing the groundwork first, as in the earthbound groundwork, before I then step onto the spiritual side of it.
Yeah. It's,
Because, football is still a massive passion of mine.
Yeah.
But when I get all the orbs out, that's just, because I know the session's going to be big and powerful.
Yeah. And I think, like, what I love about the work that I do now is having been on both sides of that coin. So having been that person not loving who I was, to then actually looking at my shit and realising that we create our reality. And so what was showing to me at the time was reflecting how I was feeling about myself.
Yeah. And the thing I love about the universe is that we'll never get to 100% loving ourselves in this life, and that's the great irony. The great irony is to learn to accept exactly who we are, and that's how we love ourselves, is just to accept all our flaws in any given moment, good, bad or indifferent, whether we're being hard on ourselves or not liking how we look. Once you really get in the flow of accepting that and not doing anything with those thoughts and just letting them flow through you, you're then accepting yourself.
Yeah.
And that's how you love yourself, by accepting your imperfections, your flaws, your shadow side. On a day you might be bitching about anyone and everyone, and
and it's
part
beautiful.
of who you are.
And it really is beautiful, because if you can, like you said, disassociate yourself from that and actually just observe it.
Yeah, because when you're around the right people, they accept you for who you are as well. They'll go, "Oh, bitching again, I see," and they'll just find it amusing.
Yeah.
Whinging pom.
When we were talking about sarcasm,
Yeah. The Brits are good with sarcasm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's for me, it's my mission. It's just like, this whole journey has brought me to this place.
Yeah, and the fact that you've got courage tattooed on your arm.
Yeah.
Courage, believe, and have faith.
Yeah, the angels in here.
Which, your journey has shown that you definitely had courage, because you moved to England to a new relationship in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
You couldn't have started off on a harder foot. So that's belief and faith.
Yeah.
Which is, to me, those are the two. To work with intuition, those are the two big things you need: belief and faith. But belief and faith in yourself, that you're connected to your intuition.
Yeah.
And then you've got to trust what it says and follow through on it. When your whole unconscious mind is trying to question it and trying to debunk it and trying to go against it.
Yeah.
And you've got to stand up to yourself and tell yourself to shut up and follow this obscure, just like, I thought about bringing the singing bowl because I knew I was going to need it, and I had to just not do it because my intuition was saying, no, you don't need it. And it's having that internal conflict and being okay with having that internal conflict, because you're just having a conversation with yourself going, right, okay, brain, shut up, you don't know what you're doing. Intuition, thanks for telling me, I'll listen to you because you're always right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Facing ourselves is always the most challenging thing we'll ever do.
Oh, 100%. Facing
Know thy enemy, we are our enemy.
Gosh, that's like ugly, beautiful, freeing, liberating, everything at the same time, isn't it? And it's about forgiving yourself as well, and realizing that you're human and everyone's doing the best that they can with the knowledge that they know.
Yeah, look, I mean, there are going to be days where you're not going to feel pretty, or you're not going to feel handsome, or you're not going to feel strong, but it's only a fleeting moment, and that's the thing. In that moment, remind yourself, going, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Good moments, this too shall pass. Bad moments, this too shall pass. Indifferent moments, this too shall pass. Everything's fluid.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Really interesting thing, like, if we talk about we create our reality, right?
Yeah.
So, when I was younger, I would say age 16,
You can remember back that far?
Yeah.
Says me that I'm older than you are, but...
Yeah, I was 16, and so where I grew up, I've got 2 older siblings, and we're all, it's quite a small area, so everyone knows, everyone's well known.
Yeah, everyone knows that. Yeah, I lived in a town like that.
And being who I was when I was younger, I was very, ignorant, I would say would be the great word to
16,
use.
naive more than ignorant.
Well, naive as well, yes. Also ignorant. So
You don't know everything at 16 as much as 16-year-olds think they do.
So I thought that this is really interesting. I thought, this is what I would say, nothing will ever happen to me because of, my siblings, of my older brother and things like that. And when I was 16, having been that ignorant, I actually got mugged and sliced with a machete.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah.
That's
And
the universe going, yeah, we need to...
you need to kick up the arse.
Need to humble you over this.
That's right. Yeah, I need
Because
to...
it's one thing having a really powerful belief that you're well protected, and then it's another thing trusting intuition and knowing that there's always something out there more powerful than you are.
Yeah, and that was, and that's it. Like, we create our reality. I was being ignorant and thinking...
Arrogant.
Yeah, and thinking, oh, nothing will happen. And, yeah, I was mugged and for my bag and sliced with a machete. And so that was a really great lesson. Yes, to the universe, give me a kick up the ass, like, come on, we'll bring you down a few pegs to keep you humble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Was there a similar resonance there because you nearly sliced your finger off? It'll be a resonance, I would say. Similar situation at a much lesser extent.
Yeah.
Which is showing you how much you've grown.
Yes. So going over to the UK and...
Thinking you was untouchable.
Well, no, like living in Australia, and we're so fortunate to have the wages that we have. We're so fortunate to have the opportunities to have the beautiful weather, like everything. And then going over to the UK and then having to start from the bottom again.
Yeah, but
there was an element of that, 100%.
Yeah, well, that's faith.
Yeah.
Faith, it'll work somewhere along the line.
Yeah. And, when we talk about, we've spoken about when things happen for us, okay?
Yeah, the universe is always conspiring for you. So everyone in the whole planet is conspiring for you.
That's right. And so after that experience when I was 16, there's 2 ways that you could go about that. You could be a victim to that circumstance.
Victim or student.
Yeah. Or you could be like, okay, what did I learn? And I found out that lesson, and I got that lesson.
Learned how to duck.
I learned how to be humble.
So part of the session earlier was to bring more fun into Hannah's life, which is why I'm making a few jokes.
We're making laughs, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to make light of it, especially when we're talking about the body stuff. It's not about making light of it. This is just for Hannah's benefit only.
To bring the fun in.
To bring the fun in, that's right. Exactly. Although you won't need to duck that much because you're quite short.
I am very short.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're your exact height you're meant to be.
Yes. 5 foot.
Yeah. And so what's next?
Continue with my events and our event coming up. I love working one-on-one with my clients, and I foresee myself doing retreats and learning more breath work, getting into that as well. And a pillar of my business as well is, having worked in the industry, I am going to venture into businesses and into clinics and beauty salons and help them with staff morale and help them with team bonding and for them to understand, really get a grasp and understand the importance of effective communication and active listening.
Yeah, the chat. Look, this is just my personal view. Is that before anybody gets any surgery or anything like that, they should have to go and have
It's like a
not. I don't want to use a psychological term. No, just like an empowerment assessment.
Yeah, to find the root.
Yeah, find out the root cause.
Yeah, because it's not that.
No.
And it wasn't that for me either.
Yeah.
10 years on now. And yeah, as I said, if I knew what I know now and where I'm at now in myself, would I have done that? No way. And that just there shows the growth as well.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I mean, there's obviously, like anything, there's always going to be reasons where it would be appropriate, where there's no low self-worth issues and all those kinds of things, where they're perfectly in balance with their emotions and it's the best thing for them in the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's always exceptions to but in general, there will be a lot of emotional challenges behind those choices.
Yeah.
Trying to fit in with the Joneses, trying to fit in with society, trying to fit in how... Because this is another thing for me, right? Every woman in the magazines are all photoshopped.
Yeah.
And being a photographer, photography for a hobby, the amount of things you can do with Photoshop is just... I saw it, there's a video out there, you can probably find it it's probably just on YouTube, where there's a picture of this beautiful woman, curvy and everything like that, sort of picture you'd find in a lot of magazines, and then when he reverses the process, he created that from a slice of pizza. And it's just, so if you're trying to look at trying to create that look that you see in magazines, it's all false anyway.
Yeah, it's all false. It's not a reality, and everyone's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, everyone is beautiful in their own way. And to look the same as someone else, one, is boring, and true, and two, you're not showing the world your authentic self.
Yeah, your quirks, because here's the thing, right? You don't know who you're going to meet in future. And let's say you've got a scar on your face from an accident when you was a kid, and you don't like it because you feel it makes you look ugly. Who's to say that the person you're going to meet in the future will really love that little thing about you, and you get that change, they're not going to look at you?
Yeah.
Well, they might still do, but then they might, later on, they might find out that you did have a scar and you had it covered, and they'll go, oh, I love scars. I like lisps.
Yeah.
It's just something, I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
But a lot of people have stigma because they've got a lisp.
Yeah.
I find it quite sexy, personally.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. The person you're meant to be with will absolutely love all your quirks.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's about...
And how you termed it, your itty-bitty titty party.
Yeah. I'd go back to that party.
Just got to go another wedding. No, you've got to go to divorce party, because the wedding got the boobs in. You've got to do the reverse to get them out.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just... It's all internal work. That's what it is. It's internal work. It's just finding out those answers, and you actually have those answers within yourself.
Yeah, and look, and as daunting as the internal work is, it's always worth it, I've found, personally. The amount of stuff I've learned about myself, and it helps with all the inner work I've done has just helped with all my intuitive gifts. It makes what I do in my one-on-one sessions seem so effortless to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't feel like I'm doing anything. I actually sometimes feel like I'm a bit of a fraud because I'm like, I don't feel any. In the beginning, I used to feel a lot of sensations in my body, and now I don't. Because I've evolved, and I'm able to channel and hold space at a much greater level, so I'm not going to feel as much. Unless I'm doing really big work with lots, doing a room full of people rather than an individual. So sometimes I just like wandering around going, am I actually doing anything? And I have to question myself sometimes going, am I doing anything? But then I can see it in the other person. And I'm seeing it in their eyes and the look on their faces, and you see the aha moments when they recognise, when I point something out and they recognise and they go, wow, that's fascinating. That's all born out of years and years and years of inner work. And years of faith and years of trusting intuition and getting it wrong sometimes.
And that's okay.
Getting it wrong a lot of times, to be fair.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it is, absolutely. It's okay. Learn. That's how we learn. As humans, that's how we learn. We learn by making mistakes.
I think the other thing is learning when to leave the table. And what I mean by that is we are the 5 people that we surround ourselves with. So what I found for me was I was surrounding myself with people that were not bringing me up and not making me feel good about myself. So naturally, I was making myself small.
They weren't feeling good about themselves. So
yeah.
Who was it who termed it? We're a result of the 5 or 6 people we hang around with.
Who would it originate?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know. Someone would have coined that phrase.
I do know Tony Robbins. I'm not sure if it was prior to him.
Those kinds of things have been around a long time.
They have, and it's so simplistic.
I think Napoleon Hill spoke about it.
Yeah, it could have. Yep. Maybe.
Yeah.
And it's really like just looking at who you're surrounding yourself with, because that's also going to contribute to what we're talking about today. And if you're around people that aren't necessarily making you feel the way that you should be feeling.
And if you're not being you're not hanging around the people that you're meant to hang around with.
That's right. So have the courage to leave the table. Because
I definitely went through a period where I didn't know who to hang around with, so I hung around with myself.
Yeah.
Because I at least knew that person.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah, and that's actually a really great journey in itself as well. I've done that as well.
Yeah, the self-discovery, that's fun.
What I love about that was you're away from other people's opinions, you're away from other people's beliefs, so you can actually really listen to yourself.
Yeah, you can hear what you're saying to yourself and saying about yourself, definitely.
That's right, and then you can choose in that moment, consciously choose who you want to be and form your own.
Yeah, I often say, when I'm talking to people about this, I'll often say, look, and I'm guiding people, saying, why bring yourself down? There's plenty of other people out there trying to bring you down. Why join them?
Yeah.
Be stronger than them.
Yeah, I love that.
Why should I bring myself down? There's plenty of other people trying to do it.
Yeah.
But if I have faith in myself and I have that courage and strength in myself, then nobody can bring me down.
And what I love about personal development and the space that we're in is, even me going vegan, there was, it's like for me, brain fog went and more clarity came in and more awareness came in and I saw things differently. And I really love that because I love our conversations. Like, Roy, you and I can speak for hours.
Yeah.
Like, we've proven that. We just love talking about this space. And
yeah, I'm like that with everybody, to be fair.
Yeah. Well, thanks, but...
That's why I said that. Because it's the spiritual realm, the intuitive realm, and it just goes everywhere. And you start talking about it, and I love talking about it. And sometimes, like, I have to go, right, now, what have a normal night? Can we just talk about what we did last week, or what, your plans for the future?
It's like for me, it's really, it's becoming more common for me to have conversations like we do, because more people are, I'm going to say, waking up, and I love that. And, I remember when we were having
and they are waking up to this spiritual realm going, okay, what's next?
There's more.
Yeah, and it's like, whoa, I'm in this gigantic universe where there's just everything. And initially it is overwhelming.
Yeah.
But then you just look, my advice in that regards is to find one thing and start there. So if you get drawn to crystals, learn about crystals, and you might only get drawn to do that for a couple of weeks, and then you might get drawn to spirit guides, and then do that for a couple of weeks, and then and just keep going.
Yeah.
And then when it changes, just go with the flow.
Yeah.
And then you'll find after 10 years, you've actually got quite a well-rounded, and you tend to know stuff about. Because I often say to people, no, I don't know a lot about crystals. And then we get talking about crystals, and I'll go, oh yeah, that's for that, and that's for that, and that's for... Actually, I do know a little bit about crystals, more than... Because I just soak information in. And it's because I'm comparing myself to someone that solely works with crystals and knows thousands in an intricate way, and I'm holding myself to them going, well, that's ridiculous. I know enough what I need to know.
Yeah.
And if I need to know more, then my intuition will say, oh, you need to learn that bit, or someone will hand me a crystal book out of nowhere, and that's just, again, it's the universe going, you're about to learn stuff.
Yeah.
So, because quite recently I got handed like 4 books, and the universe went, yeah, it's knowledge time.
Yeah.
So, Where the Superior Man, which I've just finished, so for any man out there, and woman actually, that wants to learn about how to be in a relationship with the opposite sex, you've got to read that book, it's just incredible, by David Dida. I'm currently reading 12 and a Half by Gary
V.
Gary V.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful book. And then my friend Lou, who was on episode 8, she gave me her book that she wrote. I've still got to finish reading the Sophia Code. That's all really powerful spiritual woo-woo in regards to Christ consciousness and the Sophia dragons. And I was part way through that, and then, again, I was part way through it. I was meant to just leave it for a while, and then I got a sense to buy the physical book, and then that's in my pile. So once I finish 12 and a half, then that'll be there to be finished. Which is that's all about connecting with a whole different loads of energies. So that's going to be a spiritual, intuitive gift up level.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's because, again, I say I don't read much, and then if I look at my bookcase, they've all been read.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of these, I've got to finish a book.
Yeah, so I've got lots of books there, and they're mine and Jay's, and some of those books are phenomenal, like phenomenal books, and some of them I haven't read because they're Jay's and I'm yet to, and then some I have, and yeah, like one of my first, I think, books where I really went, oh wow, this is amazing, was The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was a great one. I'm just looking at my books.
I've not read that. I've learnt it through experience. The Power of Now, living in the present moment, because everything's created from the present, including the past and the future.
Yeah. Which
tends to blow people's mind when they go, well, how can the past be created from the present? It's all to do with folding time and quantum physics and all that kind of stuff. And the logical mind's not really meant to understand it. You just trust that it works.
Yeah, and there was another one, the positive of the Tibetan, the way of the Tibetan or something, and that
it's about just in the end. It's just about trusting your journey.
Yeah.
Because knowledge can come from really obscure ways that wouldn't seem to be personal growth or empowerment, and it might be a science fiction fantasy book. But trust me, spirit can hide messages anywhere in anything.
Yeah.
And if you get given a random book or even a random leaflet, read it, because you never know what's on that.
Yeah, there's something in it.
There's a purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel that's where we'll end the show today, with some book recommendations for the listeners to read. Go out and find it, or just find one that if you feel there's something there that you need to know about, just go to a bookshop and see what jumps out, and go from there. There's always a place to start, and it's just making that conscious choice to take the action to start. So thanks very much, Hannah, for joining me, for booking me for a one-on-one session for a start, and then joining me on a podcast. It's been an interesting story about your journey, and that's what I love, giving people the voice to play full out and just own their journey of how they walked it. And thanks for those that have watched / listened to this, because I always put it on YouTube and Spotify, and it's iHeartRadio, and there's a few other little podcast shows that it's on that I can't think off the top of my head. And I'll see you on the next episode, and look forward to. I'm not sure who's after this. The next interviewee. So the next episode actually coming out. Oh, there's no point in saying this because it will come out before you actually see this. So I'm getting ahead of myself. So So the episode I was about to talk about is actually the one with my son. So he's on the next episode. That'll be episode 10. So that's an even more fun one. There's a lot of fun in this one, but there's banter in that one. And so if you haven't watched it yet, definitely go and watch that one because he calls me old. Git. And we do our top 5 on games, so it's more of a earthbound one. But we talk about ghosts as well, so there's always the spiritual element because that's my thing. But again, so thank you very much, Hannah, for joining us, and thanks for listening, and watch the shows you haven't watched yet.
Thanks, guys.